Hey, happy Friday, everyone. Our today's JMARS demonstration is about profiling tool. We will give both a brief overview how to work with the tool, as well as we'll do a couple examples. So profiling tool is located here in the main toolbar, or you can use tools profiling selected from the menu here, draw profile. And just basically get started. JMARS is very well set up for you to start drawing as soon as you find an interesting place where you want to draw. So here I am at the Panay Patera at the moment, and that's one of the interesting volcanoes on Mars. I'm on map planet Mars. I'll enlarge a little bit so we have a better view of Panay Patera. And as you may know, it's one of the highland pateras on Mars and of interest to the scientists when they study volcanic history of the planet. And so we can clearly see caldera here in the middle. And in the southwest part of the caldera is the dome of the volcano. So I'm just curious to profile it and see what interesting data we can view. I kind of preset some points that I want to draw profiles through, and just click here. And you notice your cursor turns into a pencil, and we can just draw a line here between these 2 points. And as soon as we're ready, as we drew line, all you have to do is click here in the quick access bar to view your chart. I've done that. And here is my first profile. Well, looking at it, we can understand the data and what's happening here. For this dome profile, looks pretty interesting. I'm seeing quite a steep drop here, almost 400 meters drop in elevation toward the southeast portion of the dome. Oh, I wonder what scientists may think about it and what does it mean, such a steep drop in elevation. Well, once we view our chart, and it may disappear from the screen for a moment because main view became active, I will show you configuration, how it's all done. So the chart basically built for you for the first profile you drew all by default. And it happens because numeric sources are preloaded by JMARS for you to get started. For any celestial body, there will be appropriate default numeric source, so you can start drawing your profiles without even thinking about data. Just quickly profile where you're interested. For example, here is on the moon. I have another data source, LOLA 512 topography. And so that's how JMARS will know, depending on what you drew and what data you use. So for this first profile, we can change numeric source if so desired. And that's again happening here in the configurations. By using this select numeric source dialog that's familiar to many of you. It's used throughout JMARS in various places. But for this example, MOLA 128 PPD default works very fine for me. We will travel the map a little bit to different places to profile another interesting volcano. So before we move on, I want to remember this profile. I'll just do a rename. And I want to give it some name that we'll remember. So Patera 1, for example. All your profiles remain intact as you draw them. You feel free to go to any parts of the map to reproject. All of the data, all of your profiles are saved. And they're saved in this layer. You will also observe them in the overlay section. There is always profile layer available for you that works in connection with the profile tool. And everything you draw is remembered, quote unquote, by this layer. So here you can see a layer manager, profile layer. So here you can directly rename in the table by just clicking here, giving name. You can change color, default colors that JMars gave you. You can observe coordinates, start and end points of your profile, and they're also not editable at this moment, but copyable, so to speak. Copy paste is available. So users asked us about this feature. You click in a cell and you can do select all and then copy paste maybe in your paper or in an Excel spreadsheet, etc. And you can remove profile here. Additionally, many of these tools like renaming and changing color available in the right-click menu here, okay? So now let's go to another beautiful volcano here on Mars. That one does not need introduction. That's a very famous one, Olympus Mons. And we can view it very well at 32 ppd. It's a beautiful picture. So yeah, I can just, again, Caldera here is at the top and always of interest to just profile the whole thing. So I want to draw my another profile here, all through the center here. And again, I'm ready to view the chart. I can rename it to also make sure it's we distinguish it, but it has default name already, profile 2, and it has a different color. But I also want to rename it so when we build our charts, we know what are we using. And here's our beautiful chart. Just go see the chart. Not yet, not that beautiful chart. So the previous configuration that you had will be reflected because you haven't changed anything as far as what do you want to plot. So we go back to, first one was done for you by default, but subsequent ones we will configure. So we go to configuration, and our configuration reflects what's on the chart, of course. So at this point, I'm not interested in Patera, but I'd like to add Olympus here instead. And don't worry, you didn't delete Patera, you just removed it from this configuration screen. It's still in your JMars remembers about Patera. Mola 128 is fine, and we'll keep that and take a look at the chart. Oh, it's a beautiful view of Olympus Mons, and if we want a brighter color, we can change right here. And that's one of my favorite graphs with this signature drop here at the top. And we can examine Olympus Mons here with elevation. We mentioned that we can draw multiple lines and we can draw them on a map or on the same object like this volcano. So why don't I try to add a few more profiles? And by the way, profiles are polylines. So you can draw a straight line with a single segment, or you can draw a multi-segmented line, like you draw polylines in custom shape layer, if you're familiar. If such profiling request needs you to draw multiple polyline segments. Okay, I added a couple more. And here I want to show you a trick. We can add them to the chart again. We can add them to the chart right here. Just right click and set add profile to the chart, and right click add profile to the chart. And we have all lines appear. So you can do it both ways. You can do through configuration. See, they appeared here. You can add them through this dialog as well, or through that right click immediately to the chart when you know that you have the right data source and you don't need to change. So again, with Mola, I don't need to change. I like that. And I can see all three charts. The charts the graph is interactive. We can move the Q along the graph and evaluate the values at the same time. And you can also observe, if I close this guy, You can also observe that Q on the main view also moves along with your Q on the chart and reflects the corresponding values. So what do we see here in the graph? We see that we can see latitude, longitude, where your position is for each of the lines. And we can see corresponding elevation value in meters here in the readout chart. You can change the color of your line if you desire so. You can also focus on a particular graph by hiding at the moment others and see how they play with each other. So for how profile 3, for example, looks against profile 2, etc. So feel free to do that as you research. Go back to configuration, and we did mention that we can profile multiple lines against single source, but we can also profile against multiple numeric sources. Here we select a single profile here. Let's say I do my Olympus again. And I have elevation already. It's also default for multiple sources, but I want to add, I want to profile my elevation against, let's say, slope. So I search in this dialog. It's familiar dialog to you. I'm not going into detail, except I want to draw your attention to this prompt. When we are in a multiple select mode for this numeric source dialog, there will be a prompt telling you that you can select multiple numeric sources as opposed to only a single one by holding Command click or Shift click, depending on your machine. So at the moment, I'll select slope. So I have two sources that my chart will be built for, but I can show you how we do multiple sources, for example, like this. And yeah, all 5 will be built if you desire so. For this example, I only need slope and elevation. I leave them. And again, when you click this minus, it's not deleting anything. It's removing it from your chart only. And take a look at this double graph. Oh, beautiful. I'll change colors for more bright using this. And it's a personal thing. So colors, how they work. And yeah, here is the double numeric source for our profile of Olympus Mons. We see elevation on the left, and meters is reflected against the y-axis, and we'll see degrees on the right, where also units are reflected against y-axis. We also show units in the title, so you know which data source has which units, because it may become confusing when you build multiple numeric sources, which y-axis is which. Again, the chart remains interactive, but instead of showing per each profile elevation when we had multiple profiles, we see values for the single profile, but for multiple numeric sources. So as I move the Q along the graph, I can see what is the respective elevation and slope at that same point for my profile, as well as, again, its location, latitude, longitude, and Q in the main view. We've additionally having kind of interaction here on a right click of the mouse. So you can right click anywhere on the chart and see additional menu that you can customize your graph accordingly. Properties allow you to change colors, title even. If you don't like this title for your presentation or graph, you can change anything you want. Can change tick mark colors, axis colors, a lot of customizations in properties and more properties here. To export your data, it's also one of the questions we get asked every now and then. You can do that through Save As menu and have a graph in PNG as a picture for your external paper, or as a numeric data in a comma-separated format for Excel, for example. And this one is cool. I discovered recently. Just do copy and use any external tool, for example, Snagit in my case, or it can be a document PDF, and just do paste. And here is my graph just on 2 clicks, appears nicely. in any external document that takes graphics. Well, that covers our demonstration, or at least initial demonstration of profile functionality in JMARS. And we're always excited to hear what discoveries you make using profiling tool, because with the right tool, right data, there is so much to explore in JMARS. So please share when you find your treasures using this. Thank you for watching our demo today.
All right, thanks, Zoya. That was great.